Okay, everyone, welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Helping Children Learn podcast here at Carbon Lehigh Intermediate, Unit Number 21, located in Lehigh and Carbon counties. And today's episode is about not just the Learning and Achievement School here in Lehigh County, but our furry little friend. Her name is LLASie, and she is a facility dog. She's not for one person in particular, but the IU has decided to not toy around, because this is now hopefully going to be an expanding program, but putting dogs into education, emotional support dogs into education. And so here I am with Dr. Monica Short and Amanda Vidomsky, basically our principal of this school and our school psychologist of the school. Ladies, how are we today?
Very good. Thank you.
Wonderful.
My first question, like we start every podcast, is how does LLASie help children learn?
She is super calm. She is sweet. She is patient. She is loving. And so a lot of our students struggle with coping skills, self-regulation skills, and just being around her and her temperament and her nature helps to de-escalate many of them and helps them to learn some of those skills that they'll need for life outside of here.
And she does that from the moment they walk in the morning. It is a feeling that she gives to the building. She is waiting at the front door for every student as soon as they walk in. Coming off the bus in the morning.
That's lovely.
She's the first thing that they see after coming through the door. And it's incredible to see how different they are coming off the bus this year as what they have been in the past. And they are smiling and happy to be here and excited to see her. And they take a minute, they say good morning to her and the rest of us.
Awesome.
Which is kind of new as well.
Yeah.
And then they go off to class in a positive mood to start their day with.
So LLASie is very new. She's only 1 year old, right?
Yes.
And she came to us maybe, 9 months ago or 10 months ago?
Yes.
What was your expectation before? Because I imagine someone comes to you and says, hey, we're looking to put a dog in your school. And I'm sure if you weren't familiar with the idea, what was the expectation coming into it? Because I imagine there might be a little bit of trepidation.
I think it was unknown, but
Right.
We are, for the most part in this building, huge dog lovers, all of us, especially myself, and I know Dr. Short is too. So there was excitement about it too. And she has lived up to it. Things have changed. Initially, when we were talking about her coming and what it would look like, she was more going to be housed in one classroom, and she would, she'd come out and visit others. But as she came and evolved, we realized that that wasn't as functional as we thought. So now she is more in the more open area, and kids come and visit her all day. And instead of being enclosed just in one space, she has access to so many more of the kids throughout the day.
I think what I was most surprised by, I didn't expect the kids to take to her as fast as they did.
True.
A lot of children, so many children are afraid of dogs, especially if they're not little tiny ones. And I expected it to take a little bit longer for them to just be comfortable opening up around her and to be comfortable taking down their guard around her. And it was immediate
Yes.
from the first day that she was here.
And that's
true.
something that your students typically struggle with, is to be vulnerable and to let their
Yes.
shield
Right.
down. And so to see a non-human person doing it, I'm sure you guys were like, wow. And the instantaneous part, obviously that was probably the most surprising part. Like, wow, this is an instant, the instant cure pill that we all looking for was this
Right.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I also expected that we were going to have to do a lot more training of the students
Right.
on how to behave around her, because there are a lot of behaviors in this school and they struggle with understanding how to behave in certain situations.
Yeah.
But with this dog, they were immediately protective of her
Yes.
and wanted to do the right thing when they were around her. And that was surprising too.
Yeah. And we've seen it with every new student that has arrived. So we are constantly taking new students. Some students leave us, new ones come in, and we've seen the same pattern every time a new student starts with us. So it's neat to see.
Real quickly, for our listeners who maybe are not familiar with the IU, CLIU 21 has 3 LAS, Learning and Achievement Schools. We have CLAS, LAS, and ALAS. Can you just go over a little bit what a Learning and Achievement School is?
Sure. So we are a full-time emotional support center-based location. So our students will come to us when they need and require a level of support that cannot be given in their home school. They have some pretty significant behavioral and mental health needs by the time that they reach us. Our goal is always to get them back to district, to help them learn the skills that they need to learn to be successful, and then to get them back to district.
Okay. Just so our listeners can kind of understand what LLAS is, and LLASie's name, because
Yes.
it's LLAS, we just added an IE at the end of that,
Right.
LLASie, so everyone kind of understands. When Kim sent it to me, Kim Talapan, our assistant executive director, I thought for sure it was a typo.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Capital LLAS,
Yes.
lowercase IE, and
Her
I'm like,
vet thinks it's a typo. Her
Yes.
groomer thinks it's a typo.
it looks like a password more than a
Yes.
name, but the name LLASie, adorable, right?
Yeah.
Real quickly, just wanted to remind everyone that if you want to visually see what LLASie looks like, you can go on to the IU21 Facebook page, Twitter page, LinkedIn profile, and our YouTube channel, and you can kind of see her in action. But when I was interviewing you, one of the things that stuck out is, Lady Gaga's I Was Born This Way. You said, I didn't think that this dog at a couple months old, couple weeks old, had these innate skills. So this dog comes from West Virginia, from the Chilbrook farm, and that is where they specifically train. Now, this is a chocolate lab, but I'm sure they train other breeds of dogs. Can you talk to me about what you noticed right away from the get? I know we said that it took to the students, but the things that you were like, wow, the dog definitely wasn't taught this.
I did expect it to be a lot of training on her part. You think of service animals and how much training they have to go through and whatnot. And we knew that she was not brought here as a service dog, but still you expected that she was going to have to go through very specific training to do what she's doing.
Sure.
And she just comes in and knows how to love each kid. Some kids just need a little lick on the face. Some kids just want to hug her without her reacting to them. Some kids want to play with her, rough on the floor. And she adjusts herself depending on the child because she loves to please people. She loves to play. And any way you want to play with her, that's how she'll do it. And that's just part of who she is. And that's how she was born. And they tested her for that when she was...
Yeah, they said right away, a couple
Right
days
away,
old.
just
yeah.
a few days old. They check for the personality. That is something that's just her personality from
Right.
a few days old.
Because obviously you have maybe not a PhD, but you have a doctorate in psychology. And you said, of all of these years that I've paid and went to school,
Right.
you've never really been encountered with something like that?
Right. She just gets it. She gets it.
That's awesome. One of the things that I think we really talked about is this is for the students, but it's also for the faculty.
Yes.
And can you talk to me about, when a faculty member has a child in outrage or just off-putted, right, and the dog comes in and calms them down, I imagine that faculty member now is in a place of peace.
Yes. She starts the day with everyone on the right. I mean, she runs in this back door with her tail wagging so fast, and she peeks in every room as she goes down the hallway before the kids get here, and every staff says, "Good morning, Lassie." She's so happy to be here every day, and I think that puts everybody in a positive mindset from the beginning. But, I mean, even today, for example, after the students dismissed, today had been a rough day in general.
Not the best. Okay.
Not the best day. And the students dismissed, and the one staff member came in and said, "Lassie, I need emotional support." And she sat on the floor, and Lassie gave her a bunch of licks, and she said, "Okay, I'm ready to go home now." So she does the same for the staff that she does for the kids. Of course, in the situation when she's able to de-escalate a kid,
Sure.
that takes a load off of the staff. But also, she gives them the support that they need too.
Wow.
That happens quite frequently,
Yes.
that a staff member comes into
I've
the mental
done it
health wing and
myself.
says, "Is Lassie free for a minute?"
Yes. Yes.
One of the parts of the Helping Children Learn podcast, Dr. Coons, our new executive director, really big into these small stories that kind of bring us back to the classroom, make you recognize, like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And we like to talk about our small W's. What are some small stories that have come from Lassie being in this school in the last week, in the last month, or since she's gotten here that you maybe were alone and got to witness and you were just like, wow, this is incredible? Because I know we always talk about overarching big, PDE requirements and things like that, but it all does matriculate down to those little stories. I know you said you had something in mind. Can you talk to us about one of your small W's recently? Small wins?
Yeah, it was another busy day, like it typically is. And one of the students was asking to speak to one of the mental health staff. And all of us were either outside of the building or tied up with something else at the moment. And the staff member from the classroom asked the student if he wanted to just go talk to LLASie. And he said, sure. So they brought him down to the mental health wing, and he sat on the floor next to LLASie, and he talked to her. Just talked to her. He didn't play with her. He was petting her a little bit, I'm sure, but whatever it was he needed to say to somebody, he said it to LLASie, and then said, okay, I can go back now, and went back to class and kept on doing his work. And we didn't have to do anything. She just sat with him and she listened.
First time you haven't
like
had to do
good
anything.
Dog, right?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And I'm imagining the dog probably does look at you and listens,
Oh, yes.
right? So
Yes.
that student does feel, even if it's nonverbal, they do feel affirmation. Like, okay, this dog's not playing with 10 toys, is not doing anything, looking at me right. Sometimes my dog looks at me and I'm like, wow, are you listening to me right now?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
Incredible.
yes.
What about you, Amanda? What's a small W recently?
So it's not as recently. I've kind of watched it over the progression of this year so far, but we have a student who's been with us for a while,
Okay.
significantly depressed. And I think last year we had tried, I mean, you name it, we tried it. And we were very worried about him and his progression. He tried to sleep a lot. He just looked unwell. And LLASie came, and he's a dog lover. And so we started with some visits to LLASie throughout the day, and we started to see a change in him pretty quickly. And now at this point, he is a student that, we have a level system here. He went from our lowest level to I think he is on our highest level, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just looking because he's behind me. He's almost at our highest level.
Okay.
And he has asked if he can walk LLASie a couple times a day, and that's kind of like what he works for every day.
Sure.
He is awake, he's alert, he smiles, he laughs. He's a completely different kid just from having the ability to see her throughout the day. And I think even last year, we were noticing that he wouldn't talk to us much. And then LLASie came, and he wanted to spend time with LLASie. And as he interacted with LLASie and we were there, he talked to us more. And then his confidence grew. And this year he said, I'm ready to go back to district, and I'm going to do it. And he's rising and rising and rising and rising. And I believe he is going to do it by the end of this year. And I give a lot of that credit to LLASie, honestly.
The dog.
Because we tried everything. But just being able to talk to her and then feeling comfortable with us and having her to look forward to throughout the day seems to have brought him out of the depression that he had been in for such a period of time.
And since you are the leader of the building, I imagine this past year it's been maybe a little easier to wake up in the morning. Some days, I imagine. Hey, the dog's going to do it today.
Yeah.
But that's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I'm a huge dog lover. I have 4 dogs at home of my own, and I would rescue them all if I could. So, just me getting to see her walk in every day makes me happy from the second, and every time I'm out with, something, like if I'm dealing with behavior and I'm not where she is, as soon as I come back in the room, her tail is wagging and she's waiting for me, so it just helps to reframe everything.
Yeah. How I want to end this podcast is, obviously, if you're not in the world of the IU or even education, there's some things you just don't understand, different teaching methods or something like this. But for someone who is not around the IU or education in general, like I just said, and you told them we have a dog at school, and they were just diametrically opposed because what's a dog doing in a school? What would be your message to anyone who's maybe just in a former frame of thought with education about LLASie and having this facility dog in this school?
They'd have to see it. Honestly, it's just, as soon as you see it, you get it. You see the effect that she has on people in general, and there's just a connection that people have with dogs, with animals. And she is able, I believe, to sense when people are in distress, when they need a little extra something. And that's something that, while we all train to do that and we try to do that for our students as much as possible, it's just easier to connect with a cute puppy than, than one of us. There's no fear of judgment. There's no fear of, how are they going to think about this or anything, because she just sits there and she listens and she looks cute. Yeah.
Actually, I think it's incredible to watch how she brings them all together. There will be kids that would normally not play together outside, but she comes out to go to the bathroom and they all want to play with her, and they take turns with each other throwing her ball or anything like that.
Sure.
And her birthday party,
Yeah.
I thought was a great example.
It was.
Because, we have plenty of kids in the building who don't get along with each other.
I'm sure it's a school.
Right. But they were all out in the hallway, and there was no drama at all. They just wanted to sing to that dog and tell her happy birthday. And it was so silly and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, it's unity that I'm assuming you two don't see on an everyday basis.
No.
No. No.
Incredible. Well, I guess we'll just leave it at that. From what I heard, that was an awesome birthday party.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being here. This is Season 2, Episode 3 of the Helping Children Learn podcast. You can find this basically anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And also, if you are deaf or hard of hearing, you can watch a transcript and closed captioning on our YouTube channel. Ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.